Hi, I'm Willie. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And what we're going to take a look at in this video is the Synology WRX560. So this is the last router that Synology released. It is a Wi-Fi 6 router. It does have a 2.5 gig port on the back that can be your WAN or it can be LAN. By default, this is your WAN over here. You've also got power where you plug in your power barrel, and then you've got your power button. On the side, you have a WPS button, you have a Wi-Fi button, and a USB. So you can plug it in for storage. If you're going to use IDS, IPS, that's where it's going to download the signatures to. And they came up with this design to make it a little bit nicer sitting in your living room. We're going to go over the specs of this, but I've been testing it for a while. We still recommend Synology routers. That's one of the biggest questions that we get is, do we still recommend these? And I still believe that of all the vendors we work with, this still has some of the best parental and network controls available just because of the way SRM handles it and lays it out. And you're going to see that when we do the setup video. The other thing that you can do with this is you can actually use this as a wired node. So let's say that you have one of the other Synology routers, one of the ones that lays on its side and has all the antennas sticking off. You can actually wire this to that, and this can actually just be a Wi-Fi access point, and it extends the system. We'll look at the setup on this, but these things, they're pretty nice. We'll take a look at the official specs. I've got to get it plugged in, let it get fired up. And it'll take over my screen. So we actually need to do all the other stuff first. So it is pretty easy. They're kind of plug and play, but you got to make sure your firmware stays up to date and stuff like that. So I'm actually going to plug this in here in just a minute behind me. Before I do that, let's actually take a look at the Synology page for this. And if you're interested in this, I will leave an Amazon affiliate link down below. And they are telling you this is designed for the modern smart home. But first, we get up to 3,000 megabits wireless speed. Now, of course, one client's not going to get that. We're going to be sharing that amongst all the clients that can connect to this. It can do mesh, so it can mesh with the other units, or you can do wireless or the wired backhaul. Safe internet access. It does have the 2.5 gig WAN or LAN port. And down here it shows you that this other Wi-Fi 6 router that they have, this device actually gives the same coverage. It's just a different design. They're talking about how we can do the meshing. And I actually had somebody comment on one of my other Synology videos, and they were talking about the handoff. So the handoff for the client is when you roam from access point to access point, and they said, in their experience, this has been flawless. And when we've got these set up that way, and we've only got a few people that are Synology through and through. A lot of times what'll happen is somebody will have a Unify or a GrandStream system, and they'll want to use this for the content filtering. And so we actually put this in line as like kind of a transparent bridge type setup and let it filter the traffic. But the folks that we do have that are using these from tip to stern for their entire network, they are very, very happy. Supports the 5.9 gigahertz band. This fellow looks happy here. He's got his Synology router, and you can see it's very aesthetically pleasing. We don't have all the antennas sticking all over the place. Comprehensive parental controls backed by SRM, and we're going to see that. You can get insights into what's going on in your network. You can limit screen time. You have web filtering. And they're going back to talking about that 2.5 gig port. You can see here they have a NAS plugged into it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this plugged in. Also, you can do VPN Plus, right? So if you've got a home business, a small business, you can get VPN for this, and you can actually, you don't need to use a third party. This actually has MFA built in for VPN, so which is fantastic. And if you're interested in that video, let me know down below. You can do bandwidth management, network segmentation, and you can use the RT6600AX or the RT2600AC, which these are great routers. The MR2200AC, we still use quite a few of these, but you can use these all together. You don't have to have the same routers. MSRP on this about $219.99. And I think if you are trying to control your network traffic, you've got kids, you've got maybe a coffee shop or some place that you're trying to wrangle in that internet traffic, I think this is a fantastic device. And you're going to see why. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here and get this plugged in and get it hooked up, and we're going to go through the setup. So stand by. All right, so I plugged it in, and I've got my PC plugged into the 2.5 gig port, and the WAN is the 1 gig port. I got an IP address, and you can see it automatically came up to this. It popped this window up. So we're going to go ahead and hit start. We've got the EULA. Somebody should probably read that and let me know exactly what it says. We're going to do next. Privacy updates. I mean, if we want to use it, we can. I don't know what happens if we skip to improve Synology. Oh yeah, we can skip them collecting data. If you skip this, well, yeah, we'll skip that for now. So now we're going to create an admin account. Oh, doesn't look like it likes us using admin. Okay, so we'll use some lab credentials there. Now this is our SSID and password. By default it does have one, and it's on the sticker on the back, but here we're going to just make something up. Oops. Real tough password there. So we're going to go to down to United States. And the reason we're doing that is because it's going to have to comply with the laws for wireless usage in our country. So we'll go ahead and click apply there. Applying the settings, it may take 2 to 3 minutes. We're also, the very first thing, if it doesn't do it, we're going to upgrade the firmware out of the chute. So as soon as this is done, I'll be right back. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't even have time to pause it. So it says it's going to redirect us to the portal. The setup is complete. It's the little engine that could at the moment. It's trying. All right, I'm going to pause it. We'll be right back. All right, so the setup is done, and now we are at our login screen. So we're going to go ahead and put in those credentials that we had. And there's a quick setup wizard, which I thought we kind of already did some of that. Yeah, we don't need to do anything because I have DHCP, so we'll go next. Okay, select how to proceed when an SRM update is available. And I'm going to tell it automatically install important updates. And I'm going to tell it daily. 315 is fine. You can enable quick connect on this so that you can connect to it without doing port forwards or connecting directly to the WAN. I'm going to skip that for the moment. And here's the other thing that they want us to do. We can add another Wi-Fi point to this. We're going to go ahead and skip that for now. If you want to see a video on how to do that, let me know. I thought I did one, but maybe I didn't. And here we can see that this SRM is available. So we're actually going to go ahead and update this now. So it's going to download it, and then it's going to install it. And I'll have to check and see if that is the latest one. So it is working on that now. I'll be right back. And also I would expect this to perform this same way when you're setting this router up. So I was curious while it's doing its thing. And it looks like 1.3.1 is the latest SRM for this. So that's what we should be getting. It says it's going to take about 10 minutes. I don't know that it's going to take that long, but we're not going to mess with it till it's done. So I'm going to get a couple other things taken care of, and we'll be right back. All right, so it did not take 10 minutes. It took about 3. So we're going to go ahead and get signed in here. And now we get to see all the things that it wants to talk about. And they do have a really good app for your phone that I could do a complete video on that. If you want to see the app on the phone, let me know down below. All right, so this is the router. We're just going to do a quick overview. So by default, we've got the safe access installed. And if we want to install anything else, we have to go to Package Center, just like any other Synology device. So we've got this VPN Plus server. I did some videos on that back during the Rona days. If you want an updated video on that, let me know. You've got Download Station, which we're not even going to get into that. You all probably know what that is. It's got Threat Prevention, which is the IDS, IPS, and you do need a USB key for that. We've got a DNS server, a media server, and a radius server. We can install all these things. For this video, safe access is the only thing that I'm really going to cover in depth. We're going to take a look at the rest of these real quick. So under our start button, it's got File Station. If we had a USB in here, we could create a shared folder just like a Synology NAS, and we can make that available on the network. You've got Help. Of course, we just looked at the Package Center. You've got your Log Center, where all your logs can come in, go out. I really like Log Center, and we use it when we need just a nice, easy log receiver that we can tear through later. It's great, it's free, and it's point and click to set it up. We've got our control panel. So here's where we can create our users. We can come in here and enable MFA for the users. We can do the user home folder if we have storage. We can join this to a domain so you can authenticate domain users. We can connect this to an LDAP server. So if you want to authenticate against LDAP, you can totally do that. Storage, we don't have anything here. Media indexing, this would all be running if we had storage, and then of course hibernation for the hard drive that's plugged in. File services, we can do Windows and Mac. This can be a time machine backup. We can turn on FTP, FTPS, SFTP, and then WebDAV. Under services, we can enable SSH. It has SNMP 1, 2, and 3. It does have an NTP server. We can set our application privileges, and we can install an actual CA signed certificate. If you're going to use this, you may want to go ahead and set up the notifications. So you can do Gmail, Outlook, QQ, or a custom SMTP server there. It does have SMS notifications. You have to, well, it looks like we can add an SMS provider, but it looks like the one they've got in there by default is Clickatel. Push services can be done if you have signed into your Synology account on this. Then you can use those push notifications, and then you can come in here and configure all of the different types of notifications for everything across the system. Under device, we can see this is the WRX560 running a Qualcomm Hawkeye processor with 4 cores, 1.4 gigahertz per core, 512 megs of RAM. It's heading out to time.google.com. We can change the LED status, we can hook a printer to this, and we can set up a reboot schedule. Pretty nice. Here's our update and restore. We can do configuration, backup, and restore right here. System databases look like they are out of date. So we could hit update on DNS over HTTPS server database, and we can update our IP geolocation database. That's updating. We've got our SRM settings here, so we can change the ports that we connect to it, automatically redirect HTTP to HTTPS. We're going to enable that. We're not going to allow external access to our SRM for now. And we're just going to leave the name the same. You've got your regional options, so you can set your time zone, your display language, notification language. You can change your login page, so it doesn't have to be that default login page. And then this is where you can sign into your Synology account. I'm going to click OK on this, and it's going to redirect me to where it wants me to go, which is now HTTPS. which I'm totally fine with. So that's the control panel. Let's take a look at the network center. So here it's going to come up. It's going to give us our WAN IP. We've got our Wi-Fi network over here. If we had devices connected, we could see the devices. It would tell us whether they were Wi-Fi or wired, CPU usage, memory usage, and our port status. And you can see that I am connected to this at 2.5 gigabits per second. Under internet, we can come in here. It's DHCP by default, but you can do static IP, and you can also do PPPoE. We can enable the secondary LAN interface, so we're going to have primary and secondary, so we can have a failover. But I'm using that port, so we can't use it now. We've got energy efficient Ethernet turned on. Some people may choose to turn that off. We've got smart WAN settings here. So you can do policy routing. You can also do interface priority. Here's our quick connect and dynamic DNS if we wanted to set that up. And then this device does allow you to take a USB dongle that is configured for a mobile carrier and plug it in. So you could actually have 3 WANs on this. We've got port forwarding setups here, port triggering, DMZ, and NAT pass-through. Under the local network, this is where we can create VLANs. So we can create multiple VLANs. So if you have an IoT network, and then you can set that up, you can attribute an SSID to that. If you've got maybe a work network, if you work from home, you can create that VLAN. You can segregate all the traffic from each other just like other routers. Now, there is a limitation. I believe we can only create 4 or 5 VLANs on this. And I can't remember where that was at. You can also just use the checkbox for enable network isolation right here. But they did limit the number of VLANs that you can set up. We can also configure a trunk port. And then we've got some advanced settings here. Automatically change LAN IPs if you detect a conflict with the WAN subnet. So if you have this nested somewhere or you take it somewhere and you plug it in, it's going to automatically reconfigure the LAN if there's an overlap or a conflict between your LAN subnet and the WAN. Here is DNS over HTTPS. And then we can do multicast DNS relay. So if you want AirPlay or Chromecast or printers to work across VLANs, you would enable this. IPTV and voice over IP setup. We very rarely use this on the WAN. I don't know if I have any US based customers using that. If you're using that and you're in the US or you're not in the US, let us know down in the comments. Here we can come in here and we can see all of our DHCP leases, and we can add a static reservation there, and then that reservation would show up over here. We can do static routing. This is another thing. We can see all of our clients here. You can see this traffic control, and you can ban this machine from getting to the internet. You can set a custom speed for this. So if we enable this, I'll show you what this looks like. So we can cap the upload and download per client. We can give them a guaranteed, and then we can give them a maximum. The other thing we can do is we can give them higher priority. So this is kind of like QoS, right? I can give this device higher priority on the network, or I can shut their network off altogether. If we had those clients configured, we would see them here. This is where you can come in and watch all of the traffic, monitor it in real time, and then you can run all kinds of reports on this. Under security, you've got denial of service protection. Do not allow client devices to use DNS over HTTPS, so we can turn that on. Let's see. Do not allow SRM to be embedded with an iframe. We've got firewall rules that we can create here by default. You're not going to, things are not forwarded through automatically. Only traffic is going out and then returning that is allowed by default. Here are the services that we can allow through the firewall automatically. You can see those are all disabled, and unless you have a specific reason for some of these to be enabled, they should be disabled. Then we have auto block. So if someone tries to log in by default more than 10 times within 5 minutes, it will block that IP address from being able to access the router. And when we come in here, you can create an allowed list. You can create a block list. Now, if something gets blocked, it's going to show up in here automatically. You can come in here, you can remove it. Accidents do happen. I'm going to apply that real quick. Then under our operational modes, you're going to see where this can be a wireless router or a wireless AP. So right now we're in router mode. So it's handling NAT between the LAN and the WAN. If we want to stick this thing in line, what we do is we use it as a wireless AP, and then we just disable the wireless and we allow the WAN and LAN ports to just pass traffic through. And that's it for the network center. Under Wi-Fi Connect, this is where we're going to be able to see all of our Wi-Fi settings. So you can see it created a Synology guest by default, but it is turned off. I'm actually going to turn off the WH Lab don't use SSID. Here are all of our different radio settings. We got some advanced settings down here. And here, if we're doing mesh, excuse me, we can tell it how to use the wireless to do the meshing. You can do MAC filtering here, and then we have WPS. Some people use WPS. I'm not a fan of it. If you use it, let me know. Let me know why you use it. Wi-Fi point, if we have more of these that we're creating one large wireless network and one large network out of, those devices would show up here. And then any Wi-Fi client is going to show up there. All right, so safe access is awesome. Now, I know what people are thinking. Well, if you see devices on the network, can't they just change their MAC addresses? Well, with this, what you can do is actually create an entire network profile that's going to block certain things, no matter what the MAC address is, no matter what the IP address is that's trying to get out. You set a base level that blocks everything, and then you can allow it. So it is powerful. So we can add a profile, and is it going to be a network profile? And this is what I was talking about, where you create that entire network and then you overwrite it with a user profile. So we'll do network profile, and we're going to do the primary network. And it's going to load our options here. It's going to show us the devices that are on that network. Now we can set an access rule, and the access rules are multiple things. So here we can do an internet schedule. So we can turn the internet off, and we use this nice looking representation of 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day. To do that, you can see the white is allowed, gray is not allowed. We can do web filtering. And here you can come in and you can say it's for a child, so it blocks tons of stuff. You can say it's an employee, you can say it's a guest, and if you highlight this, it's going to tell you what it's going to block from, right? So children is going to block adult content and illegal websites. Employee is going to stop them from using chat software, social networks. Guest is going to be kept from accessing illegal websites, or we can customize our filter. And then we can come in here and we can change all kinds of things. We'll make this one orange. We'll call this custom. Custom. We can come in here and select the categories that we want to block. So not only can we do categories, but we can actually do individual sites. Now, one of the probably better things about this is where we can add that block list automatically, is that even though you just get those, I mean, you can come in here and you can load all kinds of blocking manually. Like, you can get really granular with this, and you can further personalize a detailed time table for that. We can enable safe search for the browsers and for YouTube, or for the search engines. And then under advanced, we can block iCloud private relay, which you should do, because if you don't do that and you have iOS devices that are using the iCloud private relay, guess what? They get around your web filter completely. So if you thought you had devices on your network tightened down and they happen to be Apple devices, if you are allowing iCloud private relay, and Apple actually tells people how to block this, there's instructions out there how to do it. Synology makes it easy with this checkbox. Then they're not going to be able to get around this. So, and even if they change their DNS, remember, we are taking total control of this. We're not allowing DNS over HTTPS. It's going to be very difficult, especially if you block VPNs. It's going to be very difficult for them to do this. Now, if it's a guest network, right, and they're going to be doing shenanigans, if they're on a VPN, that's on them. At least they're not doing it directly on our connection, right? So here's our web filter. You can create an access request page. So if they want something open, they can select it. And then the block page, you can do a complete customized block page. Under security, we can enable the threat intelligence. We can enable Google Safe Browsing. You do have to have an API key for that. They do provide a link to instructions on how to do that. Here you can add exceptions to the network protection. Under activity, you're going to see all of the things that are blocked. You're going to get a system log here, and then you can create reports. So if you want to see an in-depth setup on safe access in 2025, let me know down below. I'll redo that if I get enough interest. But I am telling you, once you start playing with this and you start figuring out how it works and how it locks things down, I think you're going to agree with me that Synology still, for the money, provides probably the best you can't even really say it's just for kids, right? So the best network filtering, nobody does it as good as they do in this price range. And you don't have to keep paying for it. They keep adding to it. They keep making it better, and it just costs you the price of the router. If you go out to somebody that charges you for updates, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So let me know what you think about this. I'm really enjoying this device. If you want to see some of these other things, let me know, and I will add it to the list of videos, and we can actually get those done pretty quick. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, share, follow me on Twitter and TikTok. Those links are down below, along with affiliate links, a Patreon link. And if you need IT consulting, whether it's for your home or for your business, reach out at williehowe.com. There's a contact form right there on the front page, and it doesn't matter whether it's networking, voice over IP, wired or wireless networking, security, storage, all those things. If we can't help you, we'll get you to a vendor who can. You have flat pricing, whether you're a business or whether you are a home user. So if you also want to talk about this with other people in the community, head on over to community.williehowe.com. Sign up and continue the conversation. Once again, I'm Willie. I want to thank you for being here. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.